Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. Today I want to talk about data privacy and bank authentication. So, banks have traditionally been very forward thinking in terms of security and data because of all the innovations in artificial intelligence over the years. They have to start rethinking some of their authentication methods. One in particular, over many years, banking has relied on voice authentication, but because AI is widely available, cheap, easy to use, and these tools can mimic people and clone people's voices. So, because of that, some banks are moving away from voice as an authentication factor, which I think they should have done for a long time. But now they're trying to do a couple of things. They are introducing maybe multiple levels of verification depending on the person. Maybe at certain points, they may ask people to come into a physical office. They may be doing things like face or liveness detection. They're definitely creating for some people more friction. So maybe, for example, they may stop huge transfers of money. Maybe you like transfer smaller amounts of money, depending on like their risk profile for the organization. But I think what that does is going to create more friction or is creating more friction for people as they're going through certain banking systems. And I think that will definitely continue. And I think that other businesses or companies can learn from banking, especially for organizations that are using authentication methods that are outdated in a way where we know it's very easy and very cheap to clone someone's voice, maybe using multiple factors for authentication and different things like sending messages to phones or sending messages to computers or having checks in person. Some businesses are doing that, but I think that things will continue to grow and develop. As we know, we're seeing technology roll out very rapidly, but then also the fraudsters are catching up and using these technologies as well. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how companies do authentication. I know a lot of people talk about zero trust, but zero trust can be a loaded term, right? So I think being able to really articulate for the business how you're going to protect assets and how you're going to be able to authenticate people, maybe doing it on an ongoing basis in different ways, and not definitely not depending on one factor like voice to be an authentication. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see, especially around these big financial transactions or anything that's super sensitive. There will probably be a lot more steps, a lot more friction in those transactions. But then I think all of us are seeing a lot of changes in banking as it comes to identification, authentication, and how people do things online. The Deloitte study recently released said that they projected that in the US alone, that bank fraud by AI would probably go up to $40 billion by 2027. So it's definitely a concerning thing. We're seeing a lot of issues, like we're seeing things on social media where people saying that maybe money was taken from them or they were defrauded in some way because someone had used artificial intelligence in some creative way. But I think banks, for me, banks have really led in terms of innovation in this area. And I think that a lot of other sectors can take a lot of lessons from what's happening in banking as they try to thwart a lot of these identity thefts and also these, things like AI clones or deep fakes and things like that. That's it. Thank you.